Hello, everybody. I'm your cult boyfriend. I'm here with Jacob. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. Today
After
we're
I was gonna say after Breaking Dawn, I'm feeling particularly fertile. I don't know.
Breaking Dawn. I thought was a great, incredible movie. Actually, um,
But
uh, I'm glad you forced me to stick with it, to stay faithful to
you didn't
Twilight.
think it would come to this, did you?
No, well, I didn't hate the first Twilight, but I don't like
No,
it.
I
I
know what
don't
you
like the
mean.
first film. I don't like the first film whatsoever, honestly. More problems than praise for the first film. It's probably due to Catherine Hardwicke, though. I really don't like the way it looks, the way it feels, the way like the attitudes are. You can still be goofy or melodramatic, and it's not that overwrought. Like I really don't like the first Twilight movie. New Moon, I love. I actually love New Moon now. Um, After we did our video, you don't know this, but the last video that went up on this channel as the time of this video is I talked for New Moon for another 35 minutes on top of the hour and 10 that you and I already did. And like I feel like a booktuber because I went and like I read New Moon to try to figure it out, and I have all these the highlight the booktuber things is what I call them, where they have their
hmm
little like, oh well, I'll never know that
That was the
page
key.
again.
That was the key to the
That
whole
was
book
it.
you
It
just
was
ripped
because it
out.
was the only yellow one. If I only could remember what yellow stood for. This was only a few days ago. But the New Moon was fascinating to me. Breaking Dawn is almost just as good as New Moon, but Breaking Dawn is a lot more like coherent to me. I know that it's like a crazy movie, but it's a lot more coherent
Yeah.
to me. Whereas New Moon, we talked about it. I'd never experienced a narrative that all of its mechanisms were like all disjointed and like out of place, but you still were satisfied on every level as a viewer, as a reader, as an audience. Like it was, like you said, like a ricochet kind of
Mhm.
satisfaction. Like it came from places that didn't make any fucking sense but felt good. I've never seen that kind of narrative
Yeah.
structure. I'm still trying to figure it out. And since Stephanie Meyer was like not necessarily a trained writer, like this was her accidentally, like not deconstructing, but
Yeah.
like reforming a narrative structure. Like she didn't exactly know that you shouldn't do that, which makes New Moon that much more to me interesting and maybe accidentally experimental. Breaking Dawn, I know it's just half of a book or half of a story, but it's still more
Yeah.
coherent. It still has a more fleshed out, like not fleshed out. It still has more clear arcs. Like
Mhm.
Jacob even makes more sense to me in Breaking Dawn, even though he does the most confusing thing in the world at the end of the
Yeah, he's still
movie.
a dick and then becomes an actual fucked up person, but it's like it's like
Yeah,
slightly
but
more nuanced. I still
at least
hate
even
Jacob,
that
but
was like set up at the beginning with them. Like you never imprinted on anybody, Jacob.
oh yeah,
Before
they
we
set
go
that
into
up like early.
yeah,
Stephanie was playing the long game. She was like writing New Moon, then like that drama thinking like, oh, you're gonna really
so
love the
Stephanie
payoff
was
for
clearly
this.
like, see, I set up him falling in love with a fucking baby, a newborn. But before we get into all of it, brief thoughts on Eclipse, because if you didn't
Oh yeah,
notice, Jacob and I skipped over Eclipse in our discussions here. We went from New Moon
yeah,
to Breaking Dawn. Jacob, what are your thoughts, brief thoughts on Eclipse?
it exists. It's I think I said this on the last one is that it's the Harry Potter movie. And I think the last movie is kind of too, the part two of Breaking Dawn. But this is Eclipse is like the Harry Potter movie. Stuff happens. It's not particularly interesting because I think Twilight's at its most interesting when it's like a weird uh small town melodrama about vampires and sexual politics for some reason. And Eclipse is just we got to get everyone together to fight the bad guy. It's like a Deathly Hallows part two. It's that thing. It's like a young adults beat the bad guy movie. Some funny stuff in it, some fun stuff. I like the part with the little girl that becomes a vampire.
That
And they
yeah,
don't
yeah,
yeah, they
that's
don't know
the
what to do
thing.
with her. There's a particularly funny scene between Edward and Jacob where
Yeah,
Jacob
which
is where Edward can't stop reading minds, and so Jacob starts like thinking profusely about fucking Bella.
yeah, which
And
I'm
that
actually that's the book I'm reading now. I'm reading Eclipse
yeah,
right now. And he's
Sure, it's
Jacob's
more
already
interesting.
doing that. He's already staring at Edward and thinking of like terribly crude things about Bella and laughing at him.
I'm sure it's better in the book.
Well, that's the thing. I'm going like, dear viewer, I will do Eclipse on my own, um, because my problem with Eclipse was that it was too like thematically or conceptually boring. I like it more than the original Twilight because there are enough like moving parts in it that interest me more than any like
yeah,
Rosalie's origin story interests me more than anything I saw in
yeah,
Twilight.
I agree.
Um, I just think, like you mentioned, because I'm going to read Eclipse and I'm going to read this novella, the short second life of Bree Tanner,
Oh yeah, I
the young
forgot about that. I
vampire we
did.
were just talking about, because I feel like obviously Stephanie Meyer wished, because the movie insists on her too, but it doesn't do it correctly. It's like you're supposed to have this multi-textual knowledge that she's like more important in literary form than she is in the movie. But
The
still,
movies
even
do
then,
that a
like
lot.
yeah, well, I feel that when like Jane has her executed, like I still feel like something sad in the pit of I don't know why, and I want to like figure that out. I want to see. I refuse to believe Stephanie Meyer created something that was that uninteresting or that copy and paste from a Harry Potter formula.
Yeah,
I, so maybe
it's
Twilight is best as a multi-textual experience, especially if I believe that Stephanie Meyer is the true auteur throughout this, and like each film just tries to does in the most simplest way to transfer the vision of the book into a film, and it works best that way.
it's also kind of a resolution of because the first three have a pretty, cohesive storyline being sewn, which is that all they did was play a baseball game, and now you have 1,200 pages of books about the consequences of that
Yes.
baseball game, which they thought she was finally like, all right, I got to move past this shit with Victoria. So they have to make your big Eclipse movie about fighting Victoria.
I just really
Um,
have to think about Victoria. Like I had like the film didn't compel me to think about her. It's a
she's
failure of
just
a
some
film,
person. Yeah, she's just some
but I
person
I hope
who
Stephanie
saw
makes
two
it be
people.
or at least the parallel between Victoria and the person who changed like Jasper. Like there are obvious parallels in the film that the film
Yes.
doesn't really connect, but I'm
Yeah.
sure Stephanie Meyer does.
And I like
And then
Jasper for I don't know why. I think it's funny that one of your heroes is a Confederate soldier.
I think
And
they
I
handled it well. I think it was
and I
fine.
I think the actor is like weirdly charismatic. I don't know. I think he has a
Yeah.
fun screen presence. He really does. Especially for this one. I like the part in Breaking Dawn Part 1 where he takes Edward out for a bachelor party with Emmett.
Yes.
But
Yes. Emmett is
we'll get
actually really funny in
Oh,
Breaking Dawn,
oh,
but
I love Emmett in all of them. He's like all these other characters are so tortured and unhappy, and Emmett's just like loving life.
yeah.
He doesn't give a shit. He's like, I'm just happy to be here, guys.
But just if you're out there and you happen to really like Eclipse and you know what the new vampires, the brand, the new
Yeah.
blood or whatever, in the Bree Tanner stuff. Like I will cover that soon in like a solo video. We're skipping it now because the film itself doesn't really give us. We'd have 20 minutes tops to say about it. Wouldn't really give us much to discuss. So we've
Yeah.
moved on to Breaking Dawn, which gives us a lot more to discuss.
Quite a lot more.
Childhood is the kingdom where you never die or something like that is what it opens with, some poem that
I
like
think
it's like
so.
pretty wonderfully enigmatic of the theme of the movie probably. um I'm actually really impressed by Breaking Dawn because like it is to me probably the best looking Twilight movie so far. Everything looks pretty good and everything seems like fully considered. The arcs are really intact, which is so weird for this being like a half book. Like Jacob does have a full arc. Like Edward and Bella both have arcs. Like it's
And
not like
in the books, I think, because usually they take place from Bella's perspective. I think the book, there's like it's split into sections, and I think the entire middle section, which is probably a couple hundred odd pages, are devoted to Jacob, like his perspective.
oh
So
badass.
that's probably why Jacob gets so much going on here.
I mean, since we're insisting on Jacob so much, fucking falls in love with a baby.
We're getting into that right away. Yeah.
Because we're just gonna dance around it.
Yeah, no. I've talked about this at length to people, and I'm like, it's such a weird thing. Aside from the obvious, like it's such a weird thing because for about 3.5 books, Stephanie Meyer ceaselessly gives reasons why it's not weird. And she tries so hard to convince you it's not weird. And then she's like, it's not weird. He's just going to be like a watcher. I promise. And then at the last second, she goes, buddy fucks her. And then I'm like, what? She spends like so much time trying to convince you it's not sexual and then makes it sexual anyway.
It's wild that the Stephanie Meyer, the Twilight like filmic universe is just so melodramatic, so out there, so bizarre that like while I went what the fuck when it happened, it took me all of 5 minutes to accept that Jacob fell in love with a baby.
Yeah, you
Like
kind
I
of just
was like,
roll with it at that point.
yeah, like I accepted it rather quickly, which is so weird.
It's it's the Twilight brain. Once you've gone that far, you're just like, okay, I guess.
Exactly.
You're more distracted by the horrific vampire baby that you're like, I
Yeah.
guess. And it's definitely weird. I think a friend of mine described it as like cool uncle vibes, and
Right.
like
I thought Taylor Lautner was like I can finally praise someone else's acting because Kristen Stewart phenomenal through the whole series. Taylor Lautner was really good here, actually. Um,
yeah, I
and
agree.
had quite a few compelling moments of I don't know. There's a lot more pathos to him here than there was in New Moon or Eclipse. Like I was about to say he's the most understandable character, but then he falls in love with a fucking newborn baby that he's about to murder. Like he's gonna kill it, but falls in love with it instead. Like but he's really like an understandable character up until that
Yeah,
point. Um, uh, his scenes at the wedding, his scenes with the other two members of the pack who like leave with him. I like Jacob challenging Sam, challenging like the hierarchy of his wolf pack. I like a lot of that stuff. A lot of that stuff's actually really
yeah,
well done, really well thought out, and seems to be considered completely as well. I like seeing Jacob interact with every member of the Cullen family too, because Taylor Lautner has that hot-headed like wolf werewolf thing, and he does not let it go. Like he just keeps it.
he
He's
feels less impulsive here, though. I think is the difference is that it
a
feels
little
more
bit.
like he's just an angry person with like genuine concerns. So like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but like the last because we didn't talk about Eclipse. I forget if we mentioned this, but like he forces himself on Bella in Eclipse at
Yeah,
one point
yeah,
and shit like that. Like totally irredeemable. And here it's like he's has actual genuine concerns about her well-being because he's like you're about to go on a honeymoon with your superhuman husband
yeah.
who can kill you with his little finger. So
But
I
and
get
it
it.
speaks to Stephanie's like problematic flourishes.
He's the bad
Like
boy.
Jacob's like a werewolf because the like Edward is a symbol of stasis, of eternal life, but also of eternal youth, of being forever 17. And Jacob is like the epitome of dynamic becoming, of transformative power, of maturity, of constantly aging, which is uncontrollable and unknowable. So maybe the
No, I
the
agree.
problematic, yeah, the problematic edge comes in where like uh, not Jacob
Com-
apologetics, but Jacob can't control his anger, I guess.
Compared to Edward, who's like a Volcel also,
Exactly.
and Jacob is like, no, I want to fuck.
Exactly. But to get that transformative power of Jacob, and like from what I do know, because like I was really confused on what like, imprinting was and stuff. And like, is he fucking in love with a baby? So I did Google that. And I'm like, oh, I guess that like even Bella's daughter rapidly ages, so that's also a transformative symbol of like immediate maturity as well, I guess, which is speaks also to Stephanie's
Yeah,
problematic flourishes that
she's
she
so
would not.
mature for her age. She's
She doesn't believe that she's problematic either. I've seen interviews with Stephanie now, who was in this movie. I've seen interviews with Stephanie now, who's like, I don't think my books are raunchy or like bad at all, or like I also don't think Bella should be a role model. So she, like you said, she wants to have her cake and eat it too. She wants to
yeah, she does that
register
a
and
lot.
sanitize, but with enough oomph to to truly be worth daydreaming about. But yeah, she's at the wedding. She's at the wedding.
Yeah, I remember that.
Of her character. Which I think the wedding has some of the funniest, like deliberately funny. Like a lot of Twilight is unintentionally funny. That wedding scene is good comedy to me. I like the entire like
It's great.
Charlie is so funny throughout the
I
entire
love
movie.
Charlie. He's like that all the time. He's so funny. I think I mentioned this in the last one. I forget if it was on camera, but I was like, the whole series from Charlie's point of view is just miserable, a miserable experience of
I
his
love
daughter
all of
just
their.
repeat.
It has one of the funniest montage. There's a lot of This is a montage kind of movie, but
Yeah,
I do like the montage of each person giving their speech at the wedding, and Emmett's like, it like starts it off by like, hope you got enough rest last night, Bella, because you ain't gonna be sleeping for a while. And it goes into Anna Kendrick, who is remarkable in like the 2 minutes of screen time she gets per movie, and she's like, I don't know why he's so into Bella. It's not like she was the cheerleading captain or valedictorian. Or I was, so I was. And then it goes to Charlie going, Edward better be good because I'm a cop and I like to hunt people and I have a gun and I will kill him. And then her mother singing some like ridiculous lullaby. It was such a good, funny montage of
it's
awkwardness.
great. I
It
fucking
was
hate
lovely.
Bella's mom.
Yes. Oh, it was good. It was really good. Oh, but before that, we get I I'm I will stan Aro of the Volturi for forever because we
Yeah,
get a glimpse of Aro there. And yes, by the way, I somehow at the end of the movie I did not click off immediately, and I let
yeah,
the end
and so you
credits
got his
run,
return.
all hyper stylized, and I saw the best Marvel style end credit I've ever seen of Aro being like, she has something that I want now. And I can't wait. I can't wait to hang out with Aro some more.
You're gonna
That's
get more
better than any
RO.
Thanos reveal I can think of. Is hanging out with Aro, Michael Sheen, for like 2 minutes because he's kind of the best. Um, anyway,
You you also get a good payoff for the graduation cap bit from the first movie,
thank you for
where
bringing
they
that up.
people start seeing them and they're like, "What the fuck is this about?"
It's not people, it's Charlie. It's Charlie coming. He has all graduation caps, and like his ex-wife is like, "Yeah, I think it's really cool," and he's like, "Weird to me. This is weird."
Charlie's great. I love Charlie. He's like my favorite character in the series.
They're about to drive away in the car for their honeymoon, and Charlie is like about to lose his mind in the corner, separated from everybody, just like tears in his eyes, like mad.
He
But it
has
was
another great moment. So I don't know if you recall. I think it's an Eclipse. In Eclipse, that what one of the one of he's not one of the werewolves, but like he's in like the tribe. He who works with Charlie. I forget his name. He dies in Eclipse, I think. Victoria kills him while trying to hunt her. And his widowed wife is left behind. And in this movie onwards, Charlie starts trying to chase after her. And he
and
does
like
it in front of like Billy.
and Billy does not like it, but you see him later, and she's at his house. Charlie
Yeah, they
Charlie
follow up
been
on
laying
that,
that
don't
pipe.
worry.
He's doing it.
His like best friend dies and he's like, all right, this is as good a chance as any.
Mm-hmm. Charlie is so funny there.
Constantly good moments. Yeah, no, the whole thing is great. It's also really sweet. It's like actually
Yes,
sweet
yes.
in like kind of
I
a
think it's
sincere
really
way.
sweet. I think most of the honeymoon itself is really sweet too, and we get a really exotic atmosphere with some where Carlisle gives them an island as a wedding gift or something fucking ridiculous, and we're in like Brazil, I think, somewhere in South America, and it's just like for the first time in a Twilight series, we let like all these bright colors in, and it feels
We
good.
also
I hate to have to say this, but the one constant criticism, and it doesn't really affect my enjoyment of this series. I think that New Moon is like incredible and Breaking Dawn is really good. I've never liked Robert Pattinson in this series. He
oh
takes
no,
me out of it like all the time. He might be too self aware to be doing this because, he's like he's got Bella on his back and he's about to do his weird little jump over the waterfall, but you can see in Robert Pattinson's face, like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever done since Spider Monkey. Like, this is the dumbest thing. Uh, I've never
He
been able to.
knows. He's very aware of how like outrageous this material is.
You see, you need the good balance. I think that he's too aware and he takes me out of it, and Taylor Lautner has no idea how
No, no,
rude.
no, no. Absolutely.
But Kristen
Absolutely.
Stewart, I think, has a good understanding of both. Like, she knows it's absurd, but she also knows that there is some substance to what she's doing, and she's going to try to do something with sincerity. Because I get insincerity out of Robert Pattinson, and a lot of times with Taylor Lautner, I get a little too much. Like, he's,
It's because Robert like knew this was like insane, but he took the paycheck and he did his
yeah.
job. Taylor Lautner's like, no, this is gonna be my fucking Al Pacino moment. This is gonna be my Godfather. I gotta go all out. I got
And then we get more moments of what you would call, not like in general, trying to have your cake and eat it too by getting to have like that kind of rougher sex with Edward, but it's an accident. Edward didn't actually want to bruise her and actually feels really
yeah.
guilty about it, but you still get to have it and she still desires it. Like she
It's
like Bella still wants it. She dreams about it, about having
so
that
weird.
that
The
sex
sexual
again.
politics here are so weird. Why is Edward the most dangerous man on the planet is a Volcel who doesn't want to have sex
Even
with
if
his
it's not
wife?
deliberate, it's speaking to. It doesn't have to be like. I do hate when people. I don't know if you've noticed, viewer, but like Jacob and I will bring up the fact that Stephanie Meyer believes in God and is religious, but we haven't like stressed the Mormonism of her. A lot of people like to boil it down to just like some like a Mormon reading of
Yeah,
Twilight, which like while kind of valid is also I think extremely like marginalizing and like limiting to a far greater picture. But
it
even if
makes
we can
sense
use
in
that, if it speaks to repression of Mormon women that like doesn't make sense within like contradictions within like sexuality of a certain religious group, and that's fascinating. Even though that's not deliberate, it's still a fascinating thing to
I
show.
I think it's the source for a lot of the themes in the series, just not in like a one-to-one religious way. Like she's very
No,
religious, so she cares about things like eternal soul, and so one of the overarching things of the series is like Bella's love allows her to live for eternity and so on and so forth. But it doesn't really work in like a one-to-one way because we're talking about someone trying to live forever on earth, not like their immortal soul and all that. And also the fact that her immortality means, according to Edward at least, that she doesn't have a soul. So you can see the source of the themes in the
mhm,
abstract, but it's not really a religious allegory in any meaningful sense. It's just you can see why those things in the simplest abstract way were rolling around in her brain, but she kind of just
exactly.
threw them out in different ways. So no, it's not like Orthodox Mormon in any real sense.
No, and I
But
think that's like a really like arrogant way of belittling the Twilight series. Um, not what you just said, but like
yeah,
actually like
I
what
know
you
what you mean.
just said, like I agree with completely. Like Mormonism is important if you really want to understand like when Stephanie Meyer in the book keeps likening Edward to a god, you probably want to understand what Stephanie Meyer means when she says God. And for Mormons, God is something that you can become. God is something that you can transform into, and that's exactly what Bella does in here, transform into a vampire or a godlike thing. Like that's important, but at the same time, there's a million different facets. If someone boiled me down to like one thing that I believe in and said that everything I ever did was based on this one part of my personality, I would find that incredibly insulting. Like God's really important to Stephanie Meyer, but and I think she is on record saying that the Book of Mormon is the most influential book she's ever read. So like I get it, guys. But there's so much more here to her work than just that. And if she was Christian, we wouldn't all be saying it's just Christian allegory. It also happens to be Mormonism, which is a bit more of a controversial group. So
You also see it in things like the obvious ones that people always point out, like the fact that the whole series is basically building towards Bella getting married
yeah.
to who, by the way, the timeline of the series, we're only about like 16 months after like the first book.
Oh
Like the
yeah, yeah,
series
yeah.
takes place within 2 years, not even, which is very funny. New Moon covers most of that time too because of the time skip in it. But yeah, it's and then after that, of course, the she doesn't have sex till she gets married, and then when she does, she immediately gets pregnant, and it's the most horrific, violent experience
Yes.
of Bella's life.
Yes.
Um,
So
I actually,
like keep your religious analysis like handy, like keep that lens
yeah,
handy,
it's
but you should
useful.
have a
It's a
bunch of other
useful
different
framework.
ones to, yeah, have a bunch of other different ones to look through as well. I've just seen some feedback where it like really insists on just the religious lens, but there's so many
No,
different ones that to
Stephanie's
utilize.
got bigger plans than that.
I was telling you, like, I haven't gotten this fascinated by a creator since I like first started heavily getting into Kevin Williamson. Like, the only difference is like, I think Stephanie Meyer is a genius, but I think that Kevin Williamson is like, I think everything he does is deliberate. I can't tell if Stephanie's like accidentally just falling into these like confounding circumstances that her books find themselves in.
It's
Like, I don't know how much is deliberate.
I think it's some of it is deliberate in like the abstract, but not to the degree that we're giving it.
Yeah,
That's incidental, I think, but
has to be.
it's chaos. I don't know what to make of it.
That's the
Because
thing about
like
New Moon. I've never read or seen like the film's just a pretty faithful adaptation of the book. The book operates in the same way. This weird, chaotic ricochet narrative payoff. Like I've never seen that. Like it's not. It doesn't fucking make sense. It shouldn't have made sense. Oh,
this
see?
movie does make sense. Again, like the first half of this movie is a really like genuinely moving and like sincere and very romantic, I think. For all its weirdness, there's some weird things. Like they finally tap into the kind of weird shit that's historically associated with vampires, because in this one they reveal that Carlisle is like a weird colonial like force on this island and they're all terrified of him. But that aside, like it's very romantic. And then the second half is, I realized this earlier, is like a fucking David Cronenberg movie.
It is.
It
It is.
reminds me of The Brood, how like The
Oh, the
Brood is
Brood's good. The
like a
Brood is good.
body.
Isn't
It's a
Kristen Stewart's in the new one, the new Cronenberg movie that just started filming?
Yeah,
I
she
think
is. She is
that's gonna
the
be
Crimes of
dope.
the
But
Future.
yes, Crimes of the Future. That's gonna be good. But yeah, it reminds me of the Brood too. No, the second part was like
Because it's like
pure.
it's a body horror movie born of like family institutions and shit. So like the mother is giving birth to monsters, and in this, she's like a horrific vessel for this monster that she has to satiate by drinking blood out of like a movie theater soda container.
Yes,
And
but at
she's
least
like
the payoffs at the end, like unlike the
so good.
payoffs of New Moon. New Moon, I think it pretends like it sets both the book and the movie pretends like it sets up the narrative payoff, but it doesn't. That's not fucking what it's doing. It's just it's not
It's
that's not what it's
completely
doing.
irrelevant. Completely
But here
irrelevant.
it is setting it up. Like the first time we see Jacob, he has to be held back by his pack, and you can see the tension between him and Sam, and the climax is him breaking off completely from the werewolf. Like that is at least set up and
Yeah.
follows
Yeah.
through to a logical point. Like it makes sense where it ends up. Um, the tonal change, I think, is maybe what makes this, like you said, body horror. Like it might be a fantasy romance, but this one definitely has horrific elements, and I like the strong juxtaposition between how beautiful their honeymoon is and how romantic it can be and shit like that, and then how sterile, how sanitized, how kind of like I don't know, marble hard that the second half
Yeah.
of the film is.
I agree.
How isolated, like they're isolated, they can't leave or else the wolves will fucking kill them. Like it goes from the
Yeah.
great outdoors to isolation, and I think that's a
It,
crazy whiplash.
the whole second half of the movie basically takes place in this one location. It's
Mm-hmm.
wild. It's
Yeah.
wild.
ramps up the tension because like I know this is the last book, and I'm like, I know Jacob won't die in Breaking Dawn 1, but I'm like, I don't know if the girl will, or if I don't know if it's Quill or whoever his other like younger one is. Like they could
Mhm.
like easily get torn up. Like I had no idea what would happen.
Yeah.
I thought Emmett was gonna get, or Esme was the one they had you worry about a lot actually.
Yeah,
Like I
which is
thought
weird
the other
because
one was.
I, I've thought a lot about how Esme doesn't really get a lot of screen time compared to the others throughout the.
Except in this one, so I got concerned because she went off with Emmett to get to hunt for more blood or whatever, and you're like, they're focusing on her for a reason, and it was a smart
Yeah,
one. It was to trick me into thinking that it'd be the last time I'd see her,
yeah,
which
exactly.
which I actually wasn't want like I connections to all the Cullens in these stupid fucking like
And they're
mainstream
really
werewolf
nice.
movies.
They're really nice. It's really funny,
Mhm.
actually. Like the Cullens are like a really idealistic family. Even the fucking Confederate soldier, like Jasper, I think is very fun to watch. But like Emmett's the nicest guy ever.
Yeah,
Rosalie finally like forms something of a positive relationship with Bella after breaking the ice in Eclipse, which is a positive part of Eclipse.
yes,
Because prior to that, it's incredibly unclear why she's just constantly flippant towards her. And then of course Alice and Carlisle is the again. I love Carlisle just because he's so subdued that you forget that in lore, in context, Carlisle is like one of the most influential and powerful vampires on the planet.
yeah,
It's really
yeah.
funny. But yeah, they're like a super idealistic family. It's great. It's really entertaining actually. You
I,
know that the most likable people in your movie are the vampires and everyone else.
I wasn't prepared for any of this when you had me. Well, I didn't know we would go on after Twilight 1 after my like lukewarm response to it. But had no idea I would form such a bond with these characters. I do really like legitimately, unironically love most of the characters in it for sure.
It's
Uh,
addictive once you get into it and you get into their lore,
Very
and then you're
addictive. And
and then
like
you're
I
like,
like the
man,
villains so much. I talked about Aro, like Aro and Jane are like the ones I'm waiting to see. Like I want to see them be fucking evil. I want to see them be terrible
yeah,
people. Um,
they're a lot more interesting than Victoria in both iterations of Victoria.
Yeah, I just
Um,
with Eclipse, it's like I know there's got to be something more to her, or the Bree Tanner character, or Riley, any of the new vampires. Like, there's got to be
no,
something cool to that, especially if that's the one, if like the baby vampire thing like precedes the book where they actually have a baby. I don't know. Like, I feel like there's got to be something there, but I could be wrong.
it feels more like a transition than anything else towards the Breaking Dawn
Yeah.
narrative, which is more self-contained and kind of fully realizes all the latent shit that was throughout the
Mhm.
series. Finally lets it
Oh,
loose.
and they really make Kristen Stewart look positively terrifying in this film.
I think
It's
some
like,
of it is a fake
I
Kristen
mean, I think
Stewart.
most of it is fake. Near the end,
I
where
mean,
she gets like completely
yeah,
hammered.
like I think it's like actually an animatronic. Don't quote me on that, but I think they actually built like a model Kristen Stewart and
Mhm.
used it for multiple scenes. Mostly like the last ones where it's her body on the table and all that.
Like, it's impossible not to feel for Jacob. Like, I don't know. Edward is Robert Pattinson just isn't like emoting enough to me because I'm sure it's just as bad for Edward, if not 10 times worse. I feel for Jacob when he comes in a room and she's like a skeleton on a couch. The scariest part, oh man, when she's like standing there and then she drops something and goes to pick it up, but then falls backward and like
And
breaks
her
her
whole
back.
spine
Yeah,
shatters. It's
that's like
horrifying.
that straight up Cronenberg type of shit of like, oh
That's
my
what I mean.
god.
You have this again, you have this first half that's like a lovely wedding, a honeymoon, and then by the last like 20 minutes, her fucking spine is shattering and while she gives birth to a monster. It's horrifying. It's almost
And
like a not even
it's
Cronenberg. It's like
mortifying. I'm terrified for this girl. Like I'm like, oh my god, Bella.
it's like Cronenberg. It's like Toby Hooper. It's some wild shit. Like
But it's written by someone who I come on. What Cronenberg could Stephanie have seen? Bill Condon though. I think is the director's name.
yes,
He does have a
yes.
history in horror.
Yes, he directed Candyman 2, which I watched a few days ago, and I quite like it. I actually like it more than the original movie. Yeah, it's really, really good. And yeah, you see those chops here, I think. It makes a lot more sense to know that they got someone who's actually directed a horror movie to make the most horrifying film in the series. You
Yeah.
only have one left, and it definitely doesn't go to this place again. It kind of scales it back a bit in the last one. So this is as definitely as psychotic as this series gets. Easily, easily. It never goes here again. But it's so fucked up. Because she's literally getting eaten from the inside and has to consume large quantities of blood to satiate it so it doesn't kill her. Also, the craziest part is the birth scene where then Edward has to actually like eat her out or something. It's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah,
He
yeah.
has to start like chewing on her while to like get the baby out. It's
That's
deranged.
I thought that was a nightmare sequence because we had a couple of
No.
them. Oh no, this is
Yeah,
it.
and there's a that's it. There is a great nightmare sequence early on, the wedding one, where they're like getting married. It's like the shot from Lords of Salem. They're like getting married on a pile of corpses.
Yeah,
It's
and it's
so
all
great.
of your. It's like Anna Kendrick and it's Mike Newton and it's Charlie. It's all
Yeah,
the human
it's
characters.
Esme's in there too. Yeah, it's the whole family. But no, that scene, the birth scene is horrifying. Is horrifying. Like I'm imagining again, this is a series made for like girls between the ages of like 13 and 20.
Yeah.
And they were like, they saw the first four movies and they're like, yeah, I just think Taylor Lautner and Arpats are hot. And then they go to this movie and they see an hour of of Bella withering away, giving birth, and then her husband has to chew up her insides to get out a baby.
Like, is he chewing a midsection? Like, I don't know what he's doing.
I I
I feel like he's
don't know.
chewing. That's why you got to read the book. I got to read the
I
book
don't.
next.
I forget. I think they do talk about it in the book, but I don't recall. I only read
It's like,
parts of Breaking
while I
Dawn, so I
do
don't remember.
believe in, like, I do believe in author as auteur with this, because I think that every director is outside of Hardwick are trying their best to get like Stephanie Meyer across more than their own vision. I do think that Bill Condon definitely used his horror past, and Candyman 2 is good, as you were saying.
Hmm.
Um, like I don't think Stephanie Meyer's ever seen a Cronenberg movie, so I'm curious to see how Stephanie Meyer wrote that. Like it can't be like it was in the movie. So I'd be curious to see how that was
It's
translated
no, I
over.
think it's still pretty fucked up in the book.
Well, then shit. I mean, I know she's never seen like The Brood or Videodrome. I know she like there's no way. Um,
It's the
Actually, I don't
collective
know. Like Bella
unconscious.
goes and sees Face Punch and like Night of the Zombies all the time. Must come
Yeah,
from somewhere.
it's just
But
so
still.
deranged, this movie. Edward spends four books saying, I'm not gonna have sex with you, Bella. Then he has sex with you one time, sex with her one time, and he just goes, oh fuck. Oh fuck.
He's such an asshole. Oh my god. Like, okay, and then when he decides not to have sex with her on the honeymoon, Kristen Stewart, Bella comes out in like the lingerie that like Alice packed for
It's my favorite
her. Oh,
shot in the movie. When
what a dick. What a
her
fucking dick. And like
her
she's all
whole
nervous
thigh
over
is
there and he
showing.
just laughs his ass off at her and like rolls on his side. And like vampires don't even sleep. You're just pretending.
Yeah, there's the shot where you see where she deliberately goes into bed wearing lingerie and you see like her whole leg and thigh and he just
Yeah.
looks at her and smiles and covers her with a bed sheet.
What an asshole. What a moron.
I fucking love Edward so much.
The thing is that like I can see through Edward's performance. I can see the Pattinson underneath it is like this is so dumb. Of like
It's so fucking funny. It's so funny.
what a prick. Just communicate. Like
It's like a
don't
whole
laugh at your
montage.
don't laugh at your new bride for trying to be sexy. It's so
It's a
absurd.
whole montage of her trying to make herself appealing to him, and he keeps like blue balling her every single time.
And he keeps like beating her at like chess and like is just a faster swimmer. It's just like it's really hammering that point home that like one person is obviously in the relationship of command here. Like, god damn it, Edward. Like, the chess pieces, I think, are from the cover of the book, if I remember
They
correctly.
are. Yes, they are. Because it's the she's the pawn that gets to the other side that survives, and then she transforms into a queen. That's what it is.
Beautiful.
Because no, I mean that's Stephanie, not me. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll give
no,
it to you.
the whole arc is yeah, pretty obvious. Is that because Bella's been like a passive figure throughout, but although that said, like I, I don't even know how to view this series from a fucking feminist angle. Just I literally don't, because Stephanie is such a schizophrenic individual. I don't know how to
Yeah.
navigate her work. It's all over the place.
For
It,
me, I
it
have to see how Bella behaves as a god in the next film
yeah,
with
because she does. I will say, all that aside, like I think Bella's always been like a pretty interesting character and a pretty compelling and independent character. I say in quotes because New Moon
oh,
kind of problem makes that problematic. But I don't know.
independent is not a word I would use for her.
Yeah,
Codependent to everyone.
she is. I don't know. I
Not,
maybe I'm
not just
thinking more
not
of
just
just.
men, not just Edward or Jacob, but like in the book in the film, like all of like Alice. If Alice leaves me, oh my god, I'll die. Like it's everyone.
I might be thinking more of the effect Kristen Stewart has as an actress, which
I think
reminds I mentioned it reminds me of like Sigourney Weaver a while ago, I think, and
yeah. She
like
has that aura around her of like she can handle herself. Like
yeah, exactly.
she'll be
She's
all
very
right.
it's interesting, but I don't know. I don't know. I forget where I was going with that, but
About
it's weird.
the impossibility of a feminist reading.
You never could. I don't know how you would. It wouldn't be coherent. You'd be contradicting yourself constantly. Because Stephanie contradicts herself constantly. Like because this is a series where no one seems to have less power than the men in this series.
Mhm.
Edward and Jacob are both completely dominated by forces outside their control. Edward basically gives away his right to a choice and asserting himself because of Bella every step of the way. If I remember correctly, this movie has like the first time where Edward actually asserts a decision of his own, or at least a position of his own, which is that he's mad because like Bella's like, I want to, keep the baby, and he's like, but I'm worried about you. Like, I'm worried you might actually like die. And he's like, you're doing this without like asking my feelings. And if I remember correctly, I think that's a scene. And it's
But
like,
even then, he's not assertive enough because he has to. He
yeah,
for that problem, he goes to Jacob and he's like, Jacob, she listens to you and she does not listen to me. You need to try to convince her of her own safety here. And if
yeah.
she dies, you can kill me. Like that's the weakest. Edward's weird. Edward's
And
weird.
Jacob's the same though, because this whole thing in New Moon is that he doesn't want to become a werewolf, and he's like, I'm
No,
fighting it off. He has that influence, and so I'm staying away from him. And then, sure enough, by the halfway point of the movie, he becomes one, and then he has no control over himself. He's completely dictated by outside forces. Edward is dictated by Bella. By the end of the series, Jacob is dictated by this baby, this fucking baby, and they have absolutely no control over their own lives. It's wild. It's so interesting. So I guess it's
true.
compared to
It's
them.
like the men are weaponized by the women in here
That's why I
constantly.
feel like Bella has. It's weird because Bella does have this very unhealthy codependence thing on everybody around her, and she still feels like she has more
She's
independence
also
as a
figured out a way to
person.
weaponize everyone around her. Like Jacob and Edward would both die for her. Alice Jasper would die for her in a second. Esme, fucking Carlisle would die for her in a
Yeah,
second. Like every woman weaponizes the men in their lives. It's fucking weird.
it goes along with like the fanfic vibes. For I think the last two movies have hard fanfic vibes. I think part of it is because like the story that was set up in the first book resolves in Eclipse, and so all you have now is like, what if they got married? And so you have this elaborate, fan servicey wedding sequence where all the characters come back, and also Bella's, I won't spoil it, but aspects of Bella's character in the last one kind of go into that as well. So
Oh,
it
oh
does feel
yeah.
like,
Viewer, person watching this, I haven't seen like I haven't seen Breaking Dawn 2 yet. So so yeah, I can't be talking about Breaking Dawn 2. I don't
Good
know how
news
much
is
they interact with each other. They must interact with each other a lot. Same director, probably filmed at the same time. But this as a standalone movie is great, though.
you'd
Like
be
it's
surprised. This
great.
fits the most fucking cohesive a Twilight movie has been since the
Mhm.
first one, and it's the one that's split in half. It's the one that's half a book.
Like so much of that must speak to the way that Stephanie Meyer structures a story because she's not like she went to Brigham Young University and I know that she like majored in English, but by her own admission, she's like, I never you just have to pretend like you're writing a novel to like get the degree. Like I wasn't a serious author. Twilight was the first thing I ever did, blah blah blah. So like
She wrote them all in like a year.
yeah, it's like she doesn't know, and to her benefit, or she either doesn't know the narrative. She should know the narrative structure. She's obsessed with like Jane Austen and shit, but she either refuses to engage with normal like narrative mechanisms, or she doesn't know about them, or she thinks that she does, but
Like a
she doesn't.
facsimile of narrative structures. It's oh, I can think of an analogy. It's oh it's like these weird like simulacra of like narrative start. It reminds me of I don't think you've watched this, but Tim Heidecker's series Decker, where the joke is that it's like Tim Heidecker has a character he plays that's like a parody of himself, who's like a super far right, narcissistic, drug addict, like psycho dude who like keeps starting companies that kill people and cause damage and use up money, and then he just gets away with it every time. And that's his character. And as that character, he created a series supposedly directed by that character where he plays a secret agent. And it's like a parody of like Jack Reacher and shit, but the joke throughout it is that he's like vaguely familiar with how narrative tropes work in those kinds of stories, but he doesn't really know. So like one of the bits is that like there's always a double agent, but there's no cohesion to who the double agent is or where their loyalties lie, or like sometimes or how he has like this antagonistic relationship with the president, but he can't keep consistent what the president's politics are. So that sometimes he's angry at the president for not being right wing enough, and then he's like, "You're too right wing, man." He's like, "You got to hold back." And there's no. That's what Stephanie Meyer feels like, where she's like, in the, I'm vaguely familiar with tropes, but I don't know how
Yes,
these tropes are typically implemented. Is what it reminds me of. So
and
it's
only
just like
having like a yeah, you're right. And only having a
weird.
vague familiarity like helps you to reinvent it. Like she's seen a werewolf movie, totally.
Exactly. She's heard of Lon Chaney Jr. She just like
Yeah.
but like although in that movie werewolf is like an allegory for like mental illness and being suicidal. So I don't know. I don't know.
She's seen the trailer for Interview with the Vampire. She knows what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and again, like you were talking about Nosferatu and like the weird like racist connotations of shit. You get some of that here because I mentioned it. Like the Cullens are revealed to be like have colonized this island,
Yeah. Yep.
and
Oh, oh,
the people on the island work for them and are
yes.
terrified of them. And they instead of
They're
quelling those fears, they encourage those fears.
yes, and they are predatory miscreants. They have some secret source of all of this wealth. Uh, and then since the beginning, there's been implied like incestuous overtones. There's still like a Jewish coding, even though it's not that. That Stephanie Meyer is not anti-Semitic. I don't know her personally, but like this stuff is just so embedded in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
vampire
yeah.
metaphor that it's just um that's you just can't avoid it. It's unavoidable. I don't read any ill will in there. Unlike when I read New Moon and she keeps describing Jacob's skin as russet, which is just reddish brown. If you keep describing Jacob as red skin,
It's really
that's
bad. It's
like
really bad.
rethink that, Stephanie. Like I don't think you're being cruel. I think that you don't know.
She's
There.
she's just an incredibly wealthy white woman who is
I
insane.
who I think is probably brilliant. I think she's brilliant. good, but not for that. I just like,
No,
all
no.
in all, like she's really fascinating. If you engage with
Incidentally.
her like openly, like if you don't go in with some weird guard up, or if you know use several different lenses to peer through here. I mean, her sheltered existence definitely adds to how awesome reading these books are. As someone with a vague familiarity with these tropes, and even like seemingly a vague familiarity with relationships, like she's only had two in her life or something. I know that's like a huge presumptuous thing to say, but like
Yeah.
there's there's a
There's
lot here
also
that's
there's also the whole like vaguely pro-choice thing where they're like, this
yeah.
baby is literally going to kill Bella, and she's like, it's my choice. And we're like, Bella, it's
Well,
literally eating your liver right now. It's like it's literally eating you, very
but
literally eating you.
the original plan was to change her at the last minute too. Like, so it would have been equally as fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean they do. They did. That is what happens. She dies, and then he's like, "Well, I already just chewed her vagina. I guess I have to chew her arm too."
Yeah.
So she turns into one. And she technically, yeah, sure, her heart stops beating. She dies and then comes back. So if you want to incorporate Jesus, go for it.
And now I see what you were saying about Rosalie's character in our last video, where I was like, I was spitballing because all I knew of Rosalie was just New Moon and Twilight, and I considered her to be a bit more harsh or traumatized than she was. And you're like, no, she just wants to like have a family and like a baby and stuff. And you
Yeah,
can see it here that she's the one who takes the baby and like is cradling it and would fucking die for that baby.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
basically like a she's better. She's the best one to Bella during this. Like she's her nurse, her best friend in this situation. Like Jacob is gonna murder that fucking baby. I know Rosalie would kick his. I know.
Yeah, Rosalie is like the least interesting character in the first two, and then not that the Cullens are in the second one much, but like she's not that interesting in the first two and not that fleshed out. From Eclipse onward, she becomes like the most
Yeah,
interesting one of
I,
the family.
I just didn't have that information to deal with my analysis.
It's because Stephanie didn't give it to you. Yeah,
That's
Stephanie was like,
exactly true.
Stephanie
Here, like
wrote
she's such a
600
tender character.
in like the 1,200 odd pages that make up the first two books. She's like, yeah, Rosalie's just kind of a bitch. That's about
Yeah.
it. And then it's like, no, she has PTSD and she wanted a family. It's like you could have told us that in the first book, Stephanie. It wouldn't have
Meanwhile,
been
like in the
hard.
first two books, Jasper is just a little weird psychopath, like with no
And
interiority ever.
and it's this one that has Edward's backstory, not part two, right?
Oh
Where
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's great,
Forgive us for
right?
glossing over it, but it comes out of nowhere, and I don't expect it, and I forget it so quickly. But it's crazy. It's elaborate. It's two
It's
minutes.
really good. It's
So
really
he's
good. You
hunting
get you get good
serial killers.
footage of Arpats and like his
Watching Bride of
1920s attire.
Frankenstein.
Yeah, in his 1920s, 1930s 30s attire. Uh, only hunting men. Take from that what you will. He only
That
preys on
is
men, and this
and
man who's been built up for 4 movies as a celibate, only hunted men.
so how
I
can it
don't.
not part of it not be seen as normalizing like either toxic or completely violent or psychopathic behavior in men, where every situation where Stephanie goes out of her way to add some moral grayness to Edward, she sprinkles it with so much, moral
Sexual
fairy dust.
grayness and
Yeah,
sexual grayness.
moral fairy dust to like, oh no, he was only killing men who were about to assault or murder women. It's like,
It's I'm getting more at like the gay angle here. Like it's
I wasn't. The only
it
times these really play around with me with like straight up androgynous like queer coded stuff is Michael Sheen, is Aro.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think there's a bit of it with Edward in the just because of that one scene. It kind of paints the whole celibacy thing in a different light for me. And also since his whole character revolves around repression in one way or another from the first book onward, he's always about repression. I think that's a rather interesting touch. But no, they never come back to it. They never do. Compared
I
to
didn't
the
expect them to.
violently heterosexual Jacob. Well, actually,
Yeah.
no, what the fuck am I talking about? He is not straight at all. He is I saw New Moon. My favorite line in New Moon, I've seen it a few times now, and every time the part that makes me like actually laugh out loud is when a bunch of shirtless guys show up and she goes, and he says, "Don't worry, those are just my boys."
Those are my boys.
Those are my boys. And then a girl is introduced and he goes, this is bullshit. Get this girl out of my group. The fellas.
What do you think Jasper and Emmett did for Edward's bachelor party? Just what
I
do you
mean,
think they did?
Edward said that they were going to go hunt bears and
Oh,
tigers. He says, just going to go hunt bears and tigers. And then, and then, and then Jasper climbs in the window. He's like, we'll get him back before the wedding. And then they jump out and they're all like wrestling him. And they're like, all
and then
right, let's go. And then they go Superman running like Man of Steel. And I'm like, it's like, what the fuck is happening in this series? I don't know. Because the first one really like taps into the first like one or two. Yeah, I'd say the first two movies, maybe the third, if you're like, yeah, third. I keep changing my mind. The first two or three really tap into the connotations of being vampires and that like they're dangerous and evil and will
yeah.
kill you and could, like Edward saying like I'm the most dangerous predator on earth. And then you get to Breaking Dawn and they're just like, we're gonna go party, and then they go run off to kill bears together on their wedding.
I mean, a possible like a feminist angle, and this might not be like the best one too, is like over the course of the books, like I'm saying that all these men are weaponized by the women around them, but I think that Bella is easily the most dangerous character throughout the entirety of Twilight, and
I mean,
probably
she
I haven't seen
ruins a
Breaking
lot.
Dawn too, but she probably is weaponized and is like a terrifying or a very agile vampire. I don't know, very combative. I have no idea. I haven't seen it yet, but she's definitely the most dangerous character in Twilight. She's bringing all of this fucking like all
If
of
she
this
had
pain on the
if
families around her. Like
she had never shown up, like none of the series would have
exactly.
happened.
Exactly. So
If it
maybe she's like the most dangerous weapon of all, the most favorite weapon. Like maybe she is. I mean, she's the most
they could have
dangerous
just
one.
had what's his name, Laurent?
Yeah.
Laurent and Victoria would have just played a nice baseball game during that storm and gone home, and nothing would have happened. Instead, that baseball game happened, and now we're at two wars happened because of it in the
Yes.
series.
Now they're about to challenge, like I guess, the entire like deep lore of like the vampire political system. Like yeah,
Yeah,
everything.
the
Like Bella is the
vampire
chaotic
politics.
element, not the monsters for sure.
Vampire politics.
I don't know what else to call the Volturi. There's some sort of political council.
It's so weird. Everything about this series is weird. I don't know. This is where I'm like, we're in cartoon land with this series, but with this movie, and I say that in a positive, endearing way. We're in like fucking cartoon land.
I,
I forget, did they name the baby in this one?
Renesmee? Yeah.
The dumbest shit of all time. Yeah, I love it. Uh, I
Renesmee.
I'm gonna spoil my favorite joke in the next one, which is that Jacob starts calling her Nessie.
Oh my
and
god.
and then Bella finds out and screams, and they add a bunch of reverb to the effect of her voice, and she goes, "You named my baby after the Loch Ness monster," and it's the funniest. It's great.
I can imagine it. Do they really like go hard on Bella's vampirism?
Oh yeah, it's like the first half of the movie. Um, the
Yeah,
second
because what
half of the
was this?
movie is different.
Yeah, because what do they fucking? One second.
She becomes the most dangerous predator on the planet.
Yeah, the most dangerous predator on the planet. But yeah, I can't wait to get to finish Eclipse and the short second life of Bree Tanner, because I am curious about like how completely violent and all the weird junky behaviors of the brand new vampires. Like,
Yeah, because they introduced that in Eclipse. They do. It's
yeah, so I'm
interesting.
interested in getting there. Like the Bree Tanner book, this could be cool. It feels like it could just be a story of a young junkie who gets like killed by a cartel. I mean, essentially is
The-
the Bree Tanner story. I feel like I'm
It's
looking
it
forward to it.
it's mostly a lot of girl boss shit in an endearing way, like a part where Bella arm wrestles Emmett. And so
Yeah.
Emmett comes up with his giant like log arm, and that's just Kristen Stewart. It's great.
Okay. Well, I don't know how heavy they would go into it. I wanted to have the bloodlust
You get
more
a
than
bit of it, a bit of that, a bit of that, yeah. Because they have to train her to be a vegetarian, as they call it,
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's
which is
apparently
my
like,
favorite.
how long had Jasper been trying to be one? They're like brand new at it?
Yeah, they say he was like, yeah, I'm sure they say in the books, or I'm sure Stephanie Meyer, like J.K. Rowling style, has like divulged this information on Twitter or some shit. She was
Yeah.
like, yeah, after Jasper was part of a queer commune. Jasper, they do say Jasper is the new, like prior to Bella, Jasper was the most recent, you know,
Yeah, but
inductee into the family, and
I just
that
don't know if he's
he's
been
like,
trying for like 100 years already.
that's what you don't know. I assume it's much later than that because I know
Because he was technically made before Edward.
yeah, he's one of the oldest ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he's as old as Carlisle. I forget the ages, but yeah, he's
No.
definitely older than Edward. But Edward changes in like the teens, just before the 20s. I think they get Rosalie around the 20s or 30s, and the reason, I forget if they say this in the movies, but the reason Carlisle transformed her, it's kind of fucked up. He transformed her so that Edward would have a mate, but then
Wow.
Edward wasn't in love with her, and so then they're like, Carlisle was like, all right, I can workshop this, and then he killed another person and made Emmett, or he didn't kill Emmett was mauled by a bear, but he found
Yeah,
Emmett.
I
Yeah,
didn't know.
that's how Emmett died. Emmett was mauled by a bear in the woods,
Did they
and
say that in
Carlisle.
number 2 or something?
They say him in one of the movies.
Okay.
I think they say it in passing in Eclipse.
Then why the
Uh,
fuck is he so into hunting bears? I'd be traumatized.
that's why. Yeah, he was mauled by a bear, and so they turned him into one. They turned him into a vampire to save his life, and then so Rosalie got her second chance for a mate. Yeah, and then they got Alice, and so I think Jasper was probably somewhere in between, I'll say 50 years, and anywhere between 50 and 20 years he's been with the family, give or take, is the vibe I get. But I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm gonna Twilight Wiki it afterwards because now I'm curious.
same. Same, because he has so much difficulty constantly. I'm like, how
Yeah,
long though? How long
constantly.
does
He
it
almost
take?
kills Bella like 5 times throughout the series. It's really funny.
I love that. That's my. But we didn't talk about it in New Moon, but I think one of Jasper's only lines is when they're going over with the family, like, well, the Volturi says that we have to make her into a vampire. Like, what do you guys think? And Jasper says, it would be nice not wanting to kill you.
No, he was like, it'll be nice to not want to kill you. And then he like smiles about it. Like they treat the fact that they might kill Bella with like so flippantly. Edward takes it seriously. Edward's like, guys, you like the family, Emmett and Jasper are the kind of people that like in the books they'll be like, hey Bella, we might fucking kill you. And she'll be like, hey. And then Edward's like, I don't want my girlfriend to die. And
He
they're like,
almost
that'd be
ripped her
crazy,
apart on
wouldn't
her
it?
birthday. That was
On her birthday, just because she got a paper cut. Yeah.
yeah, just that much blood was enough for Jasper to lose his mind.
It's
I love
something else.
Jasper.
Jasper's fun. I like him. I think he's a pretty understated screen presence.
Yeah.
Um,
I do love that you pointed it out in Eclipse that as he's telling his flashback of being a Confederate soldier,
his
he then
accent
starts
comes
to
back.
speak in a Southern accent.
Youngest major in the Texas Cavalry, and then he's like suddenly speaking with like a Southern accent.
God, that's such a good choice. That's such a good choice. I
It's
hope that was
so
his
funny.
choice.
It's so funny. It's so funny. On rewatching the series, I realized they did try to like inject it here and there, but it's so spotty and inconsistent.
Yeah.
You get it like in one line of the birthday scene in New Moon, and then otherwise he's like pure Northeast American, and then they do it again in Eclipse, which is weird because I have to assume they shot it out of order, not chronologically. And so I'm like, why is it so evenly split where the first half of the movie he's speaking with a normal accent and the second half it's Southern? I don't know. It's
It's
just a
good.
mysterious series. But
Ah,
we've
and we
gotten
will.
so off trail. Like Breaking Dawn. But
Oh yeah, and we will be back to talk about Breaking Dawn Part Two, and wrap up our final thoughts on the Twilight series, like our overall opinion of the series and how each part interacts with each other. um,
the
so we will be back
interconnectivity.
to that. But is there anything else to say about Breaking Dawn One?
No, I mean I think that covers it.
I think we covered it. Um, I can't think of anything. There are a lot of great like one-liners, but I can't think of them here. A lot of good jokes. Um, a lot of good jokes without it becoming like overly self-aware. Like it is still a part of it's still a movie that skipped over what the '90s did completely. Like
Yeah,
it's not making fun of itself. It's making fun of like when Charlie's looking at the graduation caps. That's a joke that's funny like within the context of the actual Twilight movie. He's not making fun of the fact, you know what I'm saying. It's not
yeah.
self-referential. It's just a character is finally realizing how fucking bizarre the Cullens are.
Yeah,
Like,
the filmmakers finally realized.
mm-hmm. But want to thank you guys for watching. Be on the lookout for any clips, some Eclipse discourse, and also in a final Twilight video where we talk about Breaking Dawn Part 2, Jacob and I. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one.